Have you ever wondered which Bible verses have been used historically to justify killing, savages, tree niggers during Manifest Destiny, or, millions of heretics in Europe during the Spanish Inquisition and the Crusades, or burning women at the stake because they said heretical things like self-love creates heaven on earth, or my intuition, I can access God. So, I don't need the church to do that, heretical, life threatening statements like that. Okay, today I'm going to answer that question. Romans 12 and 13. Okay, and I bring this up because I just watched a great video from Zach Costello and I want to share part of it where it's, as he calls, an unhinged TPUSA donor threatening Charlie because he doesn't equate like the Jews in the Bible with modern Israel, which they just conflate left, right, and center. It's like, oh, well, if you're Christian, you just support whatever Israel does. No, 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 no. Okay, so I'm Kerry Blaser, the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, and I'm here to call some stuff out. That's my job as divine feminine, as wisdom. It's my job to see patterns, call out what is emotionally healthy, what is emotionally deranged, using Romans 12 and 13 to justify killing when it's a religion that says, oh, we teach love thy enemy. Oh, except for when God tells us to kill. Oh, God told us to do it, so we can do it, right? Psycho. Okay, so let's dive into the video. And I'm just being friggin' honest here. I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies out of the University of California in Santa Barbara. It has a stellar religious studies program and East Asian studies program. I learned Chinese, classical Chinese, translated 12th century Taoist texts. I'm a religious studies scholar. This is right up my alley. So let's dive into the first video.
Charlie Kirk, are you out of your mind? You will never believe what I just saw. I was watching the Will Kane show on Friday, and Will Kane was interviewing Charlie Kirk with Turning Point USA. But Charlie Kirk had the audacity to say, no, we shouldn't get involved. He cited our involvement with Libya and with Gaddafi, a terrorist regime and a terrorist state. But he's using that as a comparison to why we shouldn't get involved with Israel in defending Israel against Iran.
As if Christianity has never engaged in terrorism. The Spanish Crusades, the Inquisition, like 3 to 6 million people were killed. Manifest Destiny, we killed almost 30 million buffalo, equal number of beavers, wolves, and about 100,000 Native Americans. And, and we burned all those women at the stake because they said heretical things like self-love creates heaven on earth. Oh, gosh. How dare I go against Christianity that says the cross is the only ladder to heaven? As if. I don't want to go to their heaven.
Charlie, what are you thinking? Ladies and gentlemen, there is a movement. Start watching these talking head shows and look at the youngers, the 30 somethings, the 40 somethings, the isolationists. They're now saying we shouldn't be getting involved in this war. Well, you know what? I don't want to be involved in Russia's war, and I don't want to be involved in Ukraine. But when it comes to Israel, I've read my Bible, and I know I better be, because in Genesis 12:3, God told Abram, I will bless those who bless you and curse him who curses you. And he who ignores you, Israel, I will utterly destroy. He told the prophet Obadiah that in the last days, I think we can all agree we're living in the last days. In the last days, he will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by Charlie Kirk while their brothers were held in captivity, Israel, and they did nothing. Who agrees with that philosophy? That's Bannon. That's Tucker Carlson. That's Candace Owens. And now it's Charlie Kirk. Charlie, don't use that as an excuse. Don't use a terrorist rogue state in the Middle East as the excuse why we shouldn't stand with Israel and have Israel's back. Are you out of your mind? Don't you know your Bible, Charlie? God told the prophet Obadiah in the last days he would wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their...
I mean, if that's not using shame, guilt, and fear as a control mechanism, I don't know what is. But, that is how an unhealthy woman acts. They project their shame, guilt, and fear onto you and then expect you to abide by it, as opposed to taking responsibility for their own shame, guilt, and fear. So, okay.
Brother Jacob, Israel was held in captivity and they did nothing. Is that what you're going to do, Charlie? You and Tucker and Candace and Steve Bannon, are y'all just going to stand there and let Israel defend herself? Well, don't speak on my behalf. And don't speak on behalf of over 2 billion Christians who agree with me, because you guys are going to sell Israel down the pike. So, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. I want to hear your comments below. Please send me your thoughts. And I need for you to like and share this. And then go to the social media pages on Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA and ask them to explain themselves. Because you know what? It's the Judeo-Christian values that made our nation great and the nation of Israel great. And if you're not willing to stand with Israel, then don't stand. But don't speak on behalf of me and millions of Christians, billions of Christians around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you all. Thank you so much for all you do on behalf of our Jewish brethren in the state of Israel. We are watchmen. We need to stand our watch.
Okay, I about had enough, of how great Christianity is. When I've already given the stats on Manifest Destiny and the Spanish Inquisition, it's like they don't know how to look at themselves. And this is a classic mental health problem. She's so busy being right, she doesn't take time to self-reflect. And I used to be like that, so I friggin' know. I'm 55 now. I spent most of my life being liberal until a year and a half ago, after healing from my childhood wounds, profound childhood wounds, and I got healthy in my femininity. And like, oh, I like me some strong borders. I feel safe when ICE deports all the murderers, the rapists, and the pedophiles. Oh, that works for me because I have healthy boundaries with self. So I resonate with healthy boundaries. She doesn't have healthy boundaries with self, so she does not resonate with healthy boundaries. We attract what we are. Wisdom says the universe is a mirror, showing us ourselves in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. Knowledge says we attract what we are through energetic resonance, meeting a vibrational match, and the laws of physics show it. When part of our soul resonates at, say, 40 hertz, and that's selfishness, and there's someone around us that also has that 40 hertz, that's what draws our perception, right? We attract what we are, meaning a vibrational match, so that we can see ourselves, right? But Christianity doesn't teach that. Christianity teaches that, you love thy enemy, and when someone needs to be killed, I'll tell you when to do it. And then it's morally justified. As if that's not the same thing as the assassination culture going on right now. And we're going to get into that. So let me start with the connections between Manifest Destiny and assassination culture. And then we're going to get into the 2 Bible verses, Romans 12 and 13, to show how it's saying the same exact thing. So if you can't agree with assassination culture, like Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, then how do you agree with Manifest Destiny? How do you agree with killing heretics? How do you agree with that? How do you say that Christianity is all noble and all knowing and, son of God, when that's Christianity? These are some good questions I hope you self-reflect on. Okay, let me share the research I did and we'll go over it about the connections between Manifest Destiny and our current assassination culture. Okay, moral justification of violence, Manifest Destiny. Violence was framed as God's will, civilization, or historical necessity, right? And she just told you, I will curse those who curse you. Killing and displacement were described as tragic but righteous. I will curse those who curse you. How is that coming from an enlightened perspective? I mean, we look at God as, an enlightened perspective. We're all souls having a human experience. So how is it an enlightened perspective to go at it the same way as people who are not acting in moral ways? I mean, if God is the moral authority, how does his authority justify not being moral? I mean, think about that. Okay, assassination culture today. Violence is also often framed as morally deserved. They had it coming. I mean, I could show you a video clip of a girl getting all sexually attracted to the guy who killed the CEO of United Healthcare. Well, he could protect me. He could do this. It was morally justified. She totally gets into it. It's like, okay, psycho. All right. Killing is justified as serving justice, safety, and progress. Similarity. Violence becomes acceptable when it is wrapped in a moral story. Right? Like, people felt justified in celebrating Charlie Kirk's death because Charlie Kirk was evil. So if my belief is Charlie Kirk is evil, killing is justified. That sounds like Christianity right there. Sounds like, and then Christians are complaining about that when it happens to them. The universe is a mirror showing us ourselves in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. I never heard Charlie Kirk call out Christianity for this bullshit, for manifest destiny, for killing the savages, the tree niggers, killing all the buffalo. Never once heard him call that shit out, okay? He called out a lot of stuff, and I highly respect Charlie Kirk. I talk to his soul all the time. Love me, Charlie Kirk. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm just calling out something that he missed. You know, he was busy being right. So he didn't look backwards. And he didn't have a healthy wife who, even though she's studying the Bible, she's busy trying to, be global as opposed to a good wife and a healthy feminine woman. Dehumanization of the target, manifest destiny. Native peoples were portrayed as savages, obstacles to progress, spiritually inferior. Oh, people who cursed me. God will take care of that. They cursed me, so God will curse them. How is that morally healthy? How is that an enlightened perspective? God knows everything, right? It's like we gave ourselves permission to kill and be violent because God said. Well, where's the external metric for that? Right? Well, if we're successful, then we must be right. So success in killing is righteous. That's like just a circular logic. It's not linear logic. Logic is linear. It's left brain. It's masculine, right? That's circular logic. Circular is feminine. Emotions aren't logical. No. Okay. Assassination culture. Targets are portrayed as monsters, irredeemable villains, right? Like the CEO of United Healthcare. Less than human. Dehumanization lowers psychological resistance to killing. So, if Charlie Kirk isn't, morally justified, then God's wrath on him is justified, and a woman like that can throw around, God's wrath because she's really busy being right. All right, let's see what happens. History is on our side thinking. Manifest destiny. Expansion was described as inevitable. It's inevitable. I mean, it's just logical that if it's inevitable, then I have to do it. So I'm doing it because it's inevitable. Do you see? Resistance was seen as pointless or wrong. Assassination culture. Violence is framed as the arc of history. Sounds like inevitable. Necessary change. Up, inevitable. Unstoppable correction. Up, inevitable. Similarity is inevitable. Individuals feel less responsible for harm if it's inevitable. I mean, Charlie Kirk was just inevitable. He's just an evil human being. I mean, he was just asking for it. It's victim blaming. Christianity engages in tons of victim blaming. Savages, tree niggers, heretics, female heretics burned at the stake. Victim blaming. Sacred or ideological certainty, manifest destiny rooted in religious certainty. God chose us. We are right by definition, right? I mean, the Jews, they're the chosen people. My ex-husband's Israeli. My married name was Buzaglo. Chosen people. Oh, the Puritans, the 1600s in America were the chosen people, and America was the new Israel. Talk about manipulation. Assassination culture, political absolutism, right? We are right by definition. Moral purity narratives, like, well, if you don't agree to call me she, him, or whatever my pronouns, then you go to jail. No compromise with evil. I mean, not allowing us to cut off the genitals of your kids. That's, you're being evil. Psycho. Okay. Absolute certainty replaces ethical restraint. Well, we're certain God chose us. So because God chose, ethics and morality could just be thrown to the wayside because we're just servants of God, right? That's not a control mechanism. They're just helping a motherfucker out. I mean, that's my contention. I mean, I'm summarized Christianity. They're just helping a motherfucker out, right? The cross is the only ladder to heaven. Helping a motherfucker out. And then their missions, they said here, to show us how great Christianity is while they're, murdering heretics in the millions in Europe. Yeah, they're just being helpful. And then, because they're so nonviolent and safe, and then asked to come in. Yeah, I was baptized Mormon. I can speak shit. Don't start with me. Okay, absolute certainty replaces ethical restraint. Narrative simplification. Good settlers versus bad savages. I mean, that sounds like communism, oppressors, oppressee. We're complaining about the victim mindset right now when Christianity set us all up for it because we're a Christian nation. Okay? Now, it's done some good things, but no one's perfect, and we all need to admit fault here. Assassination culture, good side versus evil side, evil person. That's very simplistic, childish thinking. When a person expands their multiple range, they're able to see things from multiple perspectives. But when you rule with shame, guilt, and fear, everything boils down to, oppressor, oppressee, victim mindset, good versus bad. As if any situation is that simple. Complex human conflicts are reduced to simple moral cartoons, right? It's just, how can you not see it? It's good versus bad. If you can't see, it just must be stupid or crazy. No, I actually am a thinking human being who can see complexity. Okay? Distance from consequences. Okay, I could go on and on and on here. But I do have one more thing to show us. We want to get to the Romans 12 and 13 to see what it exactly says in the Bible. And, I can kind of go into why it says this about Christian history. And since I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies, I can help us get into that for a second. So let me share my screen again and we'll go to my chat GBT. Love me some chat GBT. Okay. So here's the crucial pairing about how they justify, killing. The governing authority does not bear the sword in vain. The sword is the servant of God to execute wrath on the wrongdoer. So, individuals must not avenge, but the government can punish. That's not a control mechanism, is it? Let's think about that. Individuals must forgive, but not the government. They're the ones who can, wage violence. And look at the King of England is also the church, the top of the church in England too. So, so they can use the church to make people go commit violence because the church said, God said, what God said. This is, they're cursing us, so we have to curse them back because God said. Must love enemies as an individual. Government must wage war. Okay? And only the top can decide because the top is the only one that can communicate with God. If you have a woman in the 13th century France who says, I communicate with God all the time, how does the church and the government claim ultimate authority and have control over people to wage war if women can just talk to God on their own, right? That's a problem. So, okay, kill those bitches. All right. We as individuals must love, but the state is God's instrument of vengeance. And as the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, I had to really do a deep dive because I went east in religious studies. I didn't go west. And so I realized that 2,500 years ago, Yahweh had a wife, Asherah, and 2,500 years ago, and before that, she started being repressed. So when Jesus and Mary came along, that was already being repressed. 200 years later was the huge surge in imperialism in Europe. And they wanted to control people. It sounds like, if the sword of the government is the servant of God to execute wrath on the wrongdoer, because governments can punish, use violence, or wage war in the name of God, that's a huge control mechanism right there. So in the 4th century, they kind of did away with a lot of the teachings that taught, like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, self-love creates heaven on earth, that there's divine authority inside of each of us, each of our souls, and no one needs to go to an institution to access the divine. Well, that goes in direct contradiction to the government's need to organize and control people and wage war. So what did they do in the 4th century? They only adopted 4 of the 21 Gospels. So the Gospel's like the Gospel of Thomas, which really teaches you how to operate your soul, how to love yourself. Get out, So let me scroll down a little more as to what we got here. Okay. So like this, I asked about manifest destiny. So preachers, politicians, and newspapers argue God had chosen America for expansion. Well, God chose and the government aligns, and we're a Christian nation. Do you see how saying we're a Christian nation aligns us with the atrocities of England, Spain, and so many other countries that have killed people in the name of the Christian God? The U.S. government was God's ordained authority. Wow. That's, whoa, that feels powerful, right? But then you look at like what happened to all of the government officials, all the people, men in the military leading these missions, like the Legends of the Fall. I use movies. I met Kevin Costner when I was young, I was about 20, because my good friend from childhood her family was friends with his family from the time she was young, So thinking about manifest destiny, it's in Christian nationalism, theistic manifest destiny, it's there's a lot to look at there. And these men, they had a lot of mental health problems, because like Anthony Hopkins says, there's nothing more grotesque than the meeting of a child with a bullet. And these men are having to do it themselves, and men are biologically created to protect women and children. So when people are forced to adopt these ways of thinking and then commit atrocities, and there's no process to turn their emotional wounds into personal wisdom because church has full control, then you create a lot of mentally ill people. And it's really the victim mindset. Okay, like that woman is using fear, guilt, and shame to try to control people. How it was preached in practice. Sermons and political speeches regularly use language like God's providence, divine mission, the sword of justice, the agents of God's will. And then native resistance was portrayed as rebellion against God's. Kill anyone for that. Wickedness requiring punishment. They're cursing us, so we're cursing them. Right? Wow. But then, when we needed the Native Americans for World War I and World War II for very special, like special ops, because they can use their shamanic gifts and do all kinds of stuff American military didn't know how to do, additionally use their Apache and Comanche languages to communicate military orders so all the other countries couldn't hear, that wasn't really well known or documented with a lot of decorated medals, right? Just kind of push that aside. So God's a judge. America equals God's instrument. Expansion equals obedience, not conquest. We're just obeying God. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. We're just obeying God by killing all the keystone species, which maintain the ecology, store carbon, and we're just going to kill them all because it's inconvenient for us. And we're going to bring in European cattle. And then we're going to wonder what the problem is with the environment when we killed all the keystone species, the buffalo, the beavers, and the wolves. Gee, I freaking know. So the contradiction Jesus warned us about. Jesus taught, love enemies, forgive, do not kill. That sounds beautiful. And that's a great message. But that was also meant for everybody. It wasn't like, oh, that's just for the regular people and the government and the authority, that they get to decide, right? So manifest destiny theology effectively said, we personally forgive you while the government destroys you. We're just moral on every fucking front. Like, we are so great that we forgive you for being the devil, for being evil as like tree niggers. And our government is just executing God's will. So what's to forgive? We're just right on every front. I mean, they're so busy being right, they don't take time to self-reflect. So, and I just I'm gonna share let me stop sharing. I'm gonna share some feedback I got on one of my other videos. And he still thinks this way, and God bless him. Like, I think that he's great. Like, we had a great conversation, and so no harm done. But let me kind of share what he told me. And I'm glad we had a great, ended up like several go back and forth, but it was a great conversation. Okay. So let me highlight it here and then share my screen. So here he says, we don't have to agree. Wolves kill for fun, because we're talking about how wolves, beavers, and buffalo are keystone species, and restoring them to the environment is natural ecological revival and creates climate resilience to prevent flooding, drought, wildfires, and far beyond. Okay. So wolves kill for fun. Well, the universe is a mirror. He kills for fun. He's a hunter. And once the food supply is gone, they have to eat. That's why I hunt. God gave us dominion over all animals. There needs to be a season on wolves and grizzly. God gave us dominion over all animals. That's Christianity right there. I mean, but we ended well. Like, the conversation ended really well. But I'm just kind of pointing out this idea is still in us. This victim mindset that we have authority to kill when God says, or our beliefs say. And all these Christians are, assassination culture is so bad. Oh, why don't we, self-reflect a little, remember the history of the religion that you're promoting. Maybe we should, look at that. So check it out. I know I'm a little sassy, but I just got to get it out. I got to say what I got to say. So please like and subscribe. Reach out with any questions. Thanks for listening. Bye.